going on, guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. So last night I was able to check out the new Tim Burton film Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. As a point of reference, I don't have a lot of history or nostalgia for the original. My history for this franchise goes literally like a couple days back when I watched the first film. And did I enjoy it? Yes, it's a fun movie, entertaining film, but I also don't have that nostalgia factor. So when I went into Beetlejuice, I was looking at this really not through the lens of nostalgia or even how well it holds up to the original. Just, is this a worthy sequel? And is Michael Keaton still got it as Beetlejuice? And the answer to both of those is a resounding yes. They completely nailed this movie, and for somebody who, again, doesn't have a ton of nostalgia for the original, I actually think this might be the better film. Now, it is going to come down to preference, and it's going to come down to, did you watch this movie 50,000 times as a kid or not? I understand that, but as an objective critic who literally, like I said before, does not have a lot of history with this franchise, I would go so far as say I really liked, maybe even loved this movie. It's that rare legacy sequel that really can hold its own against the original and also make the original even better in retrospect. Like when I go back and watch the original now, I'm going to know where these characters end up, and it's going to make things in the original stand out more. I'm going to understand more ideas and themes that the entire franchise is going for. It's for Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Of course, he's still got it. I mean, dude's 73. We saw him last year. Yeah, I guess it was last year when The Flash came out, back as Batman, and now here he is again as Beetlejuice. So this dude's bringing back all his old roles, and I'm totally here for it. He hasn't skipped a day, and in some ways, again, I feel like he might even be more improved. You definitely feel in the original film that you definitely feel his lack of presence a lot of times in the original film is what I'm trying to say, because for me, at least, he's not in the film as much as I feel like he should have been. Like, I'm not saying he has to overpower the plot, but just 10 more minutes with Beetlejuice in the original movie, and I think we would have been good, and I would have probably liked it even more. But in this movie, they actually give me that 10, maybe even 15 minutes more of Beetlejuice. Again, he's not overpowering, he's not in every scene, there are definitely stretches without him. But that's okay, because by the time you get to the third act, he's like nonstop in this movie. The jokes were landing amazingly well. I was laughing my butt off like so many times. And one thing I'll say, comparing again to the original film, I didn't really find it to be as humorous as I thought it was going to be. Like, there's definitely some funny moments, but it wasn't anything that I felt was iconic as what I had been promised. Maybe that just comes down to my preference in regards to humor. I don't know. But in my opinion, I just thought the sequel was a lot funnier. It wasn't constant jokes and quips. This wasn't anywhere near like an MCU film, but it was just repetitive. Like every time they made a joke, like 90% of the time it landed. A couple of them don't, but that's just, the nature of comedies and humor in general. It's not going to be for everybody, but for me, a good portion of them landed. I'm trying to think y'all can let me know in the comments what the names are. The ones with like the tiny head, the big body that were in the original film. They have a huge presence here. Guys, they're like the minions of this franchise. It's so funny. I love seeing Bob, who I'm not going to give away any context about who this character is for those who haven't seen the film, because I want to keep this spoiler free. But guys, Bob steals the show in this movie. Like, he really does. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude is like, he's amazing. I love Bob. Yeah, I want to talk spoilers, but I'm not going to, so I'm going to just leave that there. But yes, Bob is one of the film's biggest MVPs aside from Michael Keaton. Winona Ryder is great in her performance as Lydia from the original film, obviously a much older version. Jenna Ortega does a great job as her daughter. I'm blanking on the name, I can't think of what her name was in the film, but she does a really good job as well. The story itself, and again, this is probably the biggest reason why I feel like it's better than the original, because the original, it's kind of story second, and then just the Tim Burton theatrics, the aesthetics, all that is kind of first place. And while you obviously get a lot of that here, it's still very much a Tim Burton film and a Beetlejuice film through and through with all the gross out moments that you would expect. It still has, actually, it's not, I wouldn't say like it's an unpredictable story, or it's like, it's obviously not like a Godfather Part 2 level story, but it is, I feel like, a lot more richer. And thematically, I think it does a much better job than the original film at actually giving us some emotional beats. Like, it wasn't like one of those films where it almost made me tear up, but a lot of films don't really do that for me anyways, even ones that try to hit those emotional beats. But there were definitely one or two lines that a character would say, and definitely the theme of like loss and having to move on and all that, to where I was like, you know what? I think this is going to really resonate with some people. And there were definitely some moments where I was like, you know, my heart definitely melted watching this a few times. As for anything else, I guess I would be remiss to point out that this might be one of the bloodiest PG-13 movies I've ever watched. Like, the funny part about the original film is that I feel like it's just edgy enough, kind of like in that same vein of, say, Indiana Jones, to where most all ages could watch it, but you also kind of feel like you're getting away with something when you do it. And this film really just dials that up to an 11. It's PG-13. There's moments where there's just straight up blood and gore, and I was like, oh my gosh, they actually went there. So be prepared. You may not want to take the youngest of this movie. I would say maybe like 9 to 11 is a good age range, depending on maturity level. Anyways, going on to the negatives, there's really only one major negative that I have with the film, and that's the fact that I feel like by the time you get to the third act, there's quite a few plot holes that once we hit the end of the film are never really fully resolved, or if they are, you're kind of like, they really hyped up, like, for example, there's one character, I can't remember her name, but she's meant to be like this past lover of Beetlejuice or whatever, and they really hype her up. Like, I think in the first act, I'm like, oh, okay, she's going to be the big bad of the film. Well, when you get to the end of the film, and again, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but let's just say they kind of just disregard that specific arc. And again, that's very, very mild spoiler, if anything, but I don't consider a spoiler. What's up, Ginger? You kind of finish this review with me? All right, let's do this. So anyways, as I was saying, I just feel like certain moments like that and certain characters just seem like they're kind of pushed by the wayside, that I feel like should have had a lot more to do, or were hyped up to have a lot more to do. And, just 10 minutes longer to actually make those payoffs more satisfying than they are, to wrap up those story arcs, I think would have been a lot more beneficial to the overall film. That said, this is still a great legacy sequel. There's certainly some callbacks and some references to the original, but it doesn't just overstay its welcome. They're few and far between, and they actually work in favor of the story. The characters are great. Michael Keaton, I think, he's improved as Beetlejuice in my opinion. The gross out moments are bigger, better than the original, and I really do feel like this is one of those films to where you can sit here and you can be like, and again, I understand people that grew up watching the original Beetlejuice might think the original is still better just because of that nostalgia factor, but for me, everything that I liked about Beetlejuice, the original film, is present here. But for me, it was even better. More laughs, more gross out moments, more Beetlejuice. So, in the end, I think I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10 for this movie. I think it's really great. I would definitely recommend going to see it in theaters. Take a family, as long as, they're not super young or they're not grossed out by some moments in here. So, yeah, overall, that's all I got for today, guys. Anything you want to say about Beetlejuice? You like Beetlejuice, Ginger? No? Maybe? Question mark? Okay. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Let me know down in the comments below, what is your favorite Tim Burton movie? If you know me, you probably know what my favorite's going to be. But that said, I would love to know what y'all's are. And please feel free to start the conversation down in the comments below. Have you seen Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. That's all I got for today. Peace out. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to support new and upcoming YouTubers like myself. And I will catch you all in the next video.